So have many of you noticed that previous generations have always respected freedom of expression and freedom of speech? You would have the conservative students, liberal students, they would speak to each other. You didn't have that one side always getting violent and angry and calling the other side bigots and homophobe and racist or anything like that. You didn't hear the other side called the other side libtards and all that stuff. So the question is, about millennials. Are millennials more sensitive and more intolerant than previous generations? And of course, I'll answer that real quick. No, they are not. Okay, this is not going to be millennial bashing. I'm a Gen Xer, and I remember we used to be called the slacker generation and all these other terms. So here's what's going on. In my opinion, you notice the educational system has changed quite a bit. Now they're trying to push all students to go to college, become doctors and lawyers and all this stuff. But a lot of those students, they really don't have the mental capability to handle it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are slower than others. Some people should be in special ed. And I believe some schools even got rid of special ed, which is stupid. So what are those students supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? They can't keep up with other students, right? What do you think, programs do you think they're going to get into? And there's no longer too many opportunities where they teach them, welding and, mechanics, and they become mechanics working on cars and all this stuff. Like it was in my day, and some of you guys remember this stuff, Welding, I took welding and metal shop and wood shop, 7th, 8th grade. A lot of you guys remember those classes back from the 80s and everything. Now, what happens when you push these people that really shouldn't be going to colleges and universities or Berkeley or any of these, and you push them to go in there? They get in there because their parents got, money. What happens? Well, they become prey to their professors. These professors, most of them, have not really been out in the real world. Now, first off, before I get in that part, there's nothing wrong with being a mechanic, a bus driver, truck driver, working at McDonald's or any of that stuff. No job is really, you are not your job. I don't care what job you have, no one's better than someone else because of their freaking job, okay, or how much money they have. I don't care what Hollywood trash thinks, all the people who live in trailer parks or watch Mutton and all this stuff. Who freaking cares? Let them enjoy that. That's what they like. They're not bothering you because they voted for Trump. But anyways, not all of them voted for Trump. I know people who live in trailer parks that don't like Trump any more than I do, and some of you. And I could care less if you voted for Trump. I could care less. I'm not going to hate you or look down on you for it like these idiots. Some of these idiots. But anyways, back to what I'm saying. These professors, women's studies and gender studies, and of course they're forced to learn white privilege, check their privilege, and other students are being taught they're victims because they're minorities or they're women, and well, you're the perpetrator because you're male and you're white. Most of the time, you hear this stuff. And a lot of times, we have to take humanities and all this stuff to graduate. We all have to take some of these classes. You sit in the class and you're like, oh, God, this is just nonsense. This is a bunch of bull crap. And a lot of other students, they look at each other and they just, roll their eyes, because, you have to take the class, humanities or philosophy. Philosophy, I enjoy philosophy. Philosophy is other people's opinions. The thing is, let me tell you something about those professors. Those are made-up classes. I know they may have a PhD, some of them, but still it's made up. You know how you can tell? Criticize your professor and what they say. Do it privately. You don't got to do it in class, and you don't need to do it in class. Do it privately and see how they respond to you. And then if you're taking science, and your science professor, your biology, physics, or whatever, says something, and in a research journal it says something else, bring that journal to your science professor. Watch how the difference between how the two will respond to you. Your women's studies professor will probably get pretty pissed off with you. Your science professor will probably look at it, read it, tell you why they don't accept the findings, or say, well, I'll have to look into it, something along that line. It's going to be a difference. Now, why is it seems like we have more crazy leftist students going more violent and everything? Why is that? It's simple. You got these weaker students that don't really belong there, that are easily impressionable, and they're buying into all that because they don't know how to do research. They don't know how to look things up. They don't know how to debate. Proper debate, it means that you can take an idea, an ideology, and argue both sides, for and against. That's how a good debater is. That's why Ben Shapiro or Piro usually wins most of his debates. And if you notice, when people debate these leftists, they usually clobber them. It doesn't necessarily mean that liberal ideas are wrong. They are not. It just means that those people don't have a clue what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about because they're taking these classes. These professors, look at the Frankfurt School. Look that up. But anyways, these professors are all into groupthink. They all think alike. All the same ideology. They get rid of anybody who thinks differently than them. They can't stand that concept of someone thinking differently than them. So you gain students now taking classes in college that don't really need to be in there. Now, of course, you can go to college and there are other alternate programs you can do in college. Like if you go, some community colleges will have them. If people take these adult classes and they make decent money and get decent job making decent money. But now they're taking all this nonsense classes where they can't really debate. They don't know how to look things up. They don't know how to do research because they can't handle science, which really, I hate to tell you this, some of you may not like to hear this, but science is what really, truly teaches you critical thinking, how to debate, how to look things up, how to prove your points, and how to question other people's proofs. Because when you're doing a presentation, a science presentation, especially if you took a graduate level science course, like I've taken the immunology, virology, human growth and development, I'm sorry. Can't think of the name of it right now, but it's basically along that lines, but it's a whole lot more complicated. One second, I'm going to look it up, sorry. Sorry about that. Principles of development. But this is like far more intensive than, human embryology, which I also took human embryology. Well, embryology. Not human embryology, it's just embryology in general. But you have to prepare a research thing. And you got to write your abstract, how you conducted your research, your references, all this stuff. And then when you have to present to other professors, let me tell you what they do. They don't bring professors just from the science department. Oh no, they get them from history and English and all these other departments because you have to be able to explain yourself, explain your studies to other people that don't know the material you're talking about. You better be able to do this in science. You better be able to. And then you got to already anticipate the questions they would ask and be able to answer it. These leftist cycles you're seeing at Berkeley and all these others that can't handle someone else's opinion because they might be on the right. And of course you get the same thing on people on the right too. I don't think I'm just bashing the left. The right is the same way, especially the religious right. Oh man, the religious right. Don't even get me started on them. But anyways, they would not be able to do that. That's why you always just hear them yelling, bigot, bigot, bigot. Get hate speech off this campus. Get hate speech off this campus. And you can look at all these other videos where all they do is blow a thing or, just get in the person's face. Well, just yell and scream at them and threaten them or they get violent. That's why. They cannot argue their point. They cannot defend their point. They cannot, when they're asked why they hate Donald Trump, they can't tell you. It's like when Obama was president. Why do you not like affordable care? Well, no, why you don't like Obamacare? Why you didn't like Obama? And then they just quote some crap they hear on the news. Their favorite talking head told them. Same thing on the left. Right and left, the same thing with that. So it's not just a leftist thing. People on the right are the same way, especially when they get too extreme and extreme. That's why I say people should always take science classes. Now, obviously not everyone can handle science, so I wouldn't force people to take science. But they at least can take the basic stuff. But we force people to take college classes that don't belong in college. And they certainly don't belong in women's studies and gender studies because they're easily manipulated by that stuff. And think about it, for most of that stuff they're teaching you in that class, because they're not teaching you both sides. They would never do that in women's studies or gender studies. They don't do that. They would never do that. Why not? Why can't they actually give you statistics and tell you how you got those statistics? Of course, if they're using statistics, let me tell you a little something. Okay? I took statistics and probability and statistics. If they're going to use statistics in their class, especially heavily, see, they count on you not to know statistics and probability, so they can abuse statistics and probability. That's why if they were real classes, they would require statistics and probability before you can take that class. Before you can take women's studies or gender studies, it would say prerequisite statistics and probability. Because they will want you to understand what they're talking about. That's why you take some of these economic courses, they want you to understand, and accounting, they want you to understand statistics and all this stuff. If you take physics, they want you to have had calculus. If you take organic chemistry, they want you to have had general chemistry. You take something like this, you better have had organic chemistry. In order to take biochemistry, you have prerequisites. But women's studies, you just walk right on in there. Gender studies, you just walk right on in there. Just like a first year class, first year Bio 1 class, or a first year Chem 1 class. But even a first year Bio 1 class, you have to at least be smart enough to understand the science. Or else you can just take the physical science or life science class, which is very, very basic stuff. But women's studies and gender studies don't work like that. And they prey on these students that do not know nothing about probability and statistics. Creationists do the same thing. And they abuse them and they indoctrinate them with this garbage. Be very careful. Those of you going to college, please just read other books and other videos. And if you are the type of person, if you're finding out that you're getting to a point where anybody that thinks differently than you, that you're starting to feel hatred and disdain and dislike, and you call them names, libtard or communist, socialist, or calling them racist, sexist, and homophobic, Islamophobic, make sure you're learning stuff. Make sure you looked up things. For example, like I had that, the tragedy of the Templars, books like that. Read books about the Crusades. Read books from people you disagree with. Read critical race theory, which I've read. But also read Plato and what else can I give you ideas to read? There's a lot of them, It's hard to pick just one, to be honest with. The Federalist Papers. Common Sense Rights of Man by Thomas Paine. Read a good history book. Read Anne Frank's Diary of a Young Girl. Sam Harris, The Moral Landscape. Plato. Read his writings. It's too much stuff to read. Oh yeah, read the Saul Alinsky Rules for Radicals. That's where all your stuff is coming from. Learn about Frankfurt School. Hell, read Karl Marx, the Communist Manifesto, and Mussolini's autobiography, and Hitler's Mein Kampf. You'd be surprised what you will learn. I'm not saying you're going to all of a sudden agree with them. I didn't say that. I did not say that. But you will learn a lot of stuff. And you'll be smarter than your feminist study professor, your gender studies professor. And if you, that's another thing. If gender studies and feminist studies, they have no background in science. So why are they talking about things that require science knowledge? Should have prerequisite Bio 1 and Bio 2 at the very least, right? You would think so, and genetics. At least for gender studies, you think it would require also genetics, genetics. But it doesn't. Gee, I wonder why. Hint, hint, hint. Why? Do not be fooled. Millennials aren't the bad guys, and a lot of millennials are now reaching 40. Not only that, if you're going to hate millennials, remember, here you are pointing fingers. Remember, there are 3 fingers pointing back. So, you hate them, and here's each 3 reasons why it's your fault. Think about that. Because it's Gen X and baby boomers, and mainly baby boomers more than Gen Xers are responsible for this crap. You may wonder why I'm saying baby boomers more, because they're the ones in the 60s that did a lot of stupid things and a lot of stupid-ass drugs. I think that's not going to be affecting us for a while. And in the 80s, you had the crack babies. And Gen Xers aren't all that great either. And future generations, I'm sorry about all the resources and stuff we used. People are more fighting each other because they might think differently, might hold a different opinions. And if you are a type of person that gets upset because someone has a different opinion than you, like a lot of these students at Berkeley and some other places, you know, once you do this, once you give yourself a pacifier, a teddy and a blankie, and wrap yourself up. Why do you gotta have counseling because someone spoke on your college that you disagree with? You need counseling for that? Wow. That is so sad. You need counseling because you disagreed with someone. If you gotta get violent and try to shut them down and block them, that says a whole lot of bad stuff about you. Well, there's a whole lot I can say about this. Not really, I'm getting kind of tired of talking. I'm just running my mouth. Nobody's probably even watching at this point anyways. Who would? I wouldn't be watching at this point anyways. Myself. Wow, it's only 4:30. Look at that. Yeah, I'm looking at my time, 4:30. I'm surprised. I thought it would be a whole lot later than this. I'm trying to think of anything else I want to say. Sorry about that. As you can tell, I'm not very good at this stuff. Let me just pause this just in case I think of something. Oh yeah, one final thing. Research and find out why some people don't like Obama. And those of you who are pro-Trump, really, really look into why people don't like this guy, Trump. There are reasons why both of them are not that alike. And remember, a lot of this stuff started under Obama. Oh yeah, don't forget the Title IX. Because of Obama, you know, now any guy can be accused of rape. Hey, a guy could be passed out in his dorm room, and a woman could walk in, do oral on him, and then accuse him of rape. Yeah, that has happened. Look it up. Go to thecollegefix.com. You'd be surprised what you find. A male teacher got in trouble for sexual harassment just for disagreeing with a female professor. A male professor disagreed with a female professor on something. I mean, how stupid is that? That's that Title IX crap because of Obama believed a failed report that was debunked. Even the people who wrote it didn't completely believe it. I mean, seriously. That's your Obama. They didn't even pass it. No college, no church should be allowed to investigate things, felonies like rape, murder, and things like that. Anyways, why not turn that over to the police? It's their job, not the school. You can't trust college administrators to do the right thing. Because if it's a liberal school, they're going to screw over the males. If it's a conservative school, well, they'll screw over the females. So, what the Justice Department doing? Also, of course, churches would screw over anybody just so they can keep their doors open. Not all of them, obviously. But like I said, be very careful in school and college when you're dating because, wow, it's scary out there. Bye.